Good morning, greetings, and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being, and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body. You are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That is why we are here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 33 years of practicing pharmacy, I've seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds. Recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure, because the human biological system is a healing system. It's a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis. And while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health, nutrition, prescription drugs, we are your go-to resource for all things health and nutrition. If you have a common or success story you'd like to share, 844-236-6010 is our number, 844-236-6010. If you would like to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can purchase longevity products right off the website. You can also sign up to join the Brightside Ben team off the website for a one-time $30 fee. You can be in business for yourself. Call 866-735-2470 if you want to speak to a real live human being, or click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. Also, would like to remind you to check out our Truth Skin Health products at truthtreatments.com. Prescription strength skin health products without the prescription. Truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. All right, welcome back to The Bright Side. We have been talking about the idea of memes, memetics versus mechanisms. Memes are belief systems, ideas that get stuck into the culture the way a virus enters into the culture. They transport themselves through idea memes, transfer themselves. Mind viruses transfer themselves like a regular virus, using culture to transmit itself. Now we have the internet to transmit memes. The internet is an ideal way of transmitting memes. In fact, a case could be made that much of what goes through the internet is based in memetics and belief systems. And this has to be contrasted against mechanisms. Mechanisms is how things work. Memes are easy. The brain thinks this way normally, and learning memetically takes far less energy than trying to learn through by understanding how things work. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is the opposite of memetics. Critical thinking, how things work. The brain doesn't like to do critical thinking. If we had to teach anything in schools, what we should be teaching is how to critically think, how to analyze information. We don't learn how to analyze information. And the brain doesn't like to do it anyway. If it has a choice, it's always going for the meme. This is why we have prejudice and stereotypes, racial prejudices and racial stereotypes. It's much easier to think in large quantities than to analyze cases individually. It's much easier for the brain to just take mental shortcuts and look at something as if it's part of a group. And this is why prejudice and stereotypes are so predominant and problematic. See, memes can be deactivated. Critical thinking is a way of deactivating memes. Memes don't stand up to mental examination. They don't stand up to scrutiny. If you examine things, you'll see that you can deactivate memetics. The medical model is a classic example. If we do some critical thinking about the failure of the medical model, we will stop deifying it. But because it's become a meme, we don't really spend the time to see how many people are dying from medical errors, or how often it is that the doctor actually helps somebody with high blood pressure or diabetes, or how often drugs actually will make somebody better. If we do some critical thinking on the business of pharmacy, we'd see that no drugs ever work. All it takes is a little critical thinking. But the meme is that drugs are important. That's why we have Bernie Sanders talking about universal prescriptions. They call it universal health care, but it means universal prescriptions. See, memes are interesting. Sometimes a meme will start off as a critical thought, a scientific idea, and then it devolves. So the idea of the pharmacomedical model, that started off as a critical thought. It devolved into a meme. It started off as a critical thought back in the Enlightenment, back in the 16th century. Then it devolved gradually into what we have today. The word natural, that started off as a critical thought because you want to eat, and you want to eat naturally. You want to eat as close to what the body has naturally or has evolved to want to eat. But then it became just a jargon term. It became a meme. Organic, gluten, MTHFR. You heard of that one? That's another meme that's out there. I have to have methylfolate. I can't have folic acid. Keto diets are oftentimes, they start off as a critical thought and they go into a meme. Keto, paleo, even the Mediterranean diet. They start off as scientific ideas and then they get dumbed down, basically. And they get misunderstood, they get misused, and they get abused too. Because you see, memes can be intentionally constructed. They can be intentionally constructed by critical thinkers. Now, memetics is kind of an inferior way of processing information. It's a shortcut. Critical thinking is much more sophisticated. Critical thinking can actually be used to construct memes. This is what self-help is about. Self-help is literally constructing your own personal memes that help you. And because the brain likes shortcuts, it's really an excellent way to change your life if you have a problem, any kind of problem in your life. Self-help that's basically what self-help is about. It's about constructing mental shortcuts, good habits, you could think of them as. A habit is a type of meme. If you do a habit, you're actually using a mental shortcut. So habits can be memes. Advertisers, that's their goal in life, is to make their memes habits, and marketers. But you can use memes, you can intentionally construct memes that are good for you. Personal empowerment memes, personal empowerment, mental shortcuts to make yourself stronger and better. Athletes use them all the time. It's called positive thinking, but it can be perceived, I should say, it can be interpreted as a type of positive meme construction. Positive thinking is positive meme construction. On the other hand, meme construction can be manipulated by those who do not have an individual's best interest. Those are the advertisers. Those are the marketers. That's the goal of advertising. The goal of marketing is to construct memes that get you to buy. Not in your interest, in their interest. And there's something not so nice about doing that. Much of society and culture is constructed by meme engineers, by memetics, the science of memes. Patriotism is a meme. Religion is a meme. Or uses memes, I should say. Institutions, in general, love to use memes because memes are such a powerful way of controlling behaviors. And an institution needs to control the behaviors of those it institutes. Advertising, news. The news is a classic example of the spreading of memes. These are the tools of the engineers of society who are controlling behaviors. And creating policies and trying to shape and structure a society. The classic use, to me, and probably the most dangerous of all the memes, are the ones in the world of health and the world of medicine. That's where that's where you play with people's bodies. That's especially nasty to me. Medicalization and vaccines. When I say medicalization, I mean the idea that we have to go to the doctor for everything. Vaccinations, the demonization of alternatives. That's a really bad one, where they make it sound like you're a quack if you like nutrition, or if you're a health nut. If you pay attention to supplementation, that's a nasty way of controlling behavior with memes. Glorification of foods, the glorification of fast foods, glorification of processed foods. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll continue on the bright side right after this. We are back on the bright side. 844-236-6010 is our number. Got lines open. 844-236-6010. If you have questions about the longevity products, longevity business, health challenges you or a loved one may be dealing with. If you have a comment about this idea of memes, what do you think about this? Critical thinking versus memes versus mechanism is how I like to put it. If you have a take on that, I'd love to hear that. 844-236-6010. 844-236-6010 is our number on the bright side. So memes versus mechanisms. That's the cool thing. Memes can be kind of like a, you can get kind of ticked off, actually. I get ticked off. But you got to understand that we have a way of protecting ourselves against memes by critical thinking. But it takes work and it takes energy. And keep in mind, you can construct your own personal memes. Keeping them, they're just memes. It's not like memes are necessarily bad. It's just that you want to know when you're operating without thinking. You want to know when you're operating mimetically. If you're operating mimetically for performance, I think I can, like the little engine that could, that's a powerful way to use a meme. The problem is when we use memes unconsciously, or we work with memes unconsciously, or we behave under the rulership or the guidance of memetics unconsciously. That's what a racial stereotype is. Racial stereotypes don't stand up to critical thinking. Critical thinkers operate and carry on their business and carry on their lives in a different way than people who operate with memes. This shows up a lot of times in politics. People who critically think. Here's another thing about memes. Memes tend to perpetuate themselves, and it's hard to have a critical thinking. It's hard to interact with somebody who's operating mimetically if you're operating as a critical thinker. If you're operating as a critical thinker, there'll be too much nuance in how you are operating. Critical thinking has nuance. It's not cut and dry because not everything is the same. So critical thinking while it's more powerful than using memetics, in a way, it's very difficult to change somebody else's memes, to change somebody else's memetics with critical thinking. They have to be volunteer. They have to be willing to do it. People who try to argue the facts with somebody who's operating mimetically, it becomes very frustrating. The classic medical meme, the medical memes to me are the worst ones because they involve our health. And the classic one is the one about the infallibility of the medical model represented by the doctor. It's taken about 100 years to stick that meme into the culture. That meme wasn't there as much anyway. It really became entrenched with the Flexner Report at the beginning of the 20th century. That's when the meme of the infallibility of the medical model, the pharmacomedical model, and the infallibility of the doctor, like a pope, actually, that began in the early part of the 20th century. It became a consciously inoculated virus into the culture somewhere around 1920 or maybe early 20th century. But it was gradually happening. All medicine has failure built into it, and you can see this with medical error. Critical thinking will show you that all medicine has failure built into it. In other words, medicine can't really work. It can fix you if you're damaged in terms of surgery. Yes, that's true. It can't fix you like your body can fix you. It can stitch things up. The body has a repair system that's infinitely times more complex than the one that you get from the medical model. Nonetheless, there are times when that aspect of medicine can be very, very valuable and life-saving, and nobody disputes that. But the idea of using medicine for chronic long-term degenerative disease, for lifestyle disease, the idea of going to the doctor for a drug is a intentionally injected virus into the culture injected by those who will profit from it. It doesn't stand up to critical thinking, so we don't need to freak out about it. It does not stand up to critical thinking. That's so cool. That is really important to understand. We don't have to fall for it. The medical model has this, and by the way, remember, the medical model probably started off as a good thing. It didn't start off as being intentionally manipulative, but when certain business interests found that they could make so much money on it, it became irresistible. So the idea of the core idea of the medical model is that you can treat separate parts. You don't have to see it as a system, and the whole idea of the body as a system really didn't get going until like pretty recently, maybe the last 100 years or so. Although a lot of people understood it intuitively, it really didn't get understood until we started to develop something called systems theory, basically. And systems theory is how systems work. Systems theory says that you can't take one part out of a system and not change the system. A system is, by definition, a bunch of parts that all work together. That's what a system is. Like a watch is a classic example of a system. If you take one, you may have 100 gears or 1,000 gears in a watch. I don't even know how many there are in a watch, probably in the hundreds. You take one out, you no longer have a working watch. It's not like you can just take one little gear out and have hundreds of them. If you take one component out of your car's engine, you're not going to have a fully functioning engine. It's not going to work. Just one component, because it's a system, and the human body is the same way. If you take the gallbladder out, you're going to have a different type of human being. You're going to have a human being that is less able to navigate through the world, because that gallbladder was put there for a reason, through God or through evolution or whatever you want to say. Now, the body has a lot of redundancy, so the liver can pick up a little bit of the slack if you have your gallbladder taken out, but you're still going to have some kind of drop-off in performance even if you don't notice it. Something is not going to be working as well if you take a part out of the system, out of the body. And when I say take out a part out, I'm not just talking about literally removing it surgically. When we take drugs, we are literally taking a part of the body out, a part of the chemistry of the body out. So you're changing the body. And you can't have the same system. You're creating a different system. You're creating a different type of body. And because if you believe in the unbelievable inerrancy of the body, and which I do, and the power of the body the stupendous power of the body to adjust, to homeostatically adjust to its environment, once you take a part out, it's not going to be able to adjust as well. You can't help but shorten your life once you take a part out, whether you take a part out surgically or whether you take a part out chemically, pharmacologically. The medical model depends on the reductionist idea that we are just a bunch of parts stuck together, and if you take a part out, it doesn't matter. Doctors will literally tell you you can live just fine without a gallbladder. That's what they believe, because they believe that the body is just a bunch of parts. Holism, health, by the way, comes from the word whole, interestingly, right? How can you be a healthcare professional if you're carving the body up? Health means whole. Holism. Holism and health is it's in our wheelhouse. We can do it ourselves. Food, oxygen, nutrition, movement, these have nothing to do with doctors. Nowhere is medicine involved here in holism, in health, unless you have a heart, have some kind of surgical procedure, emergency surgery you need, and I understand that. I'm not naive about that, but in terms of how our body lives, lives day to day, there's no real place for medicine. Food, oxygen, thoughts, spirituality, emotion, nutrition, exercise, respiration, all of these are things that we can do ourselves. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. We've got lines open for you, and we will get your calls here momentarily. Tomorrow we're going to talk to Mina Samuels, who has written a book about... She's an athlete, actually, and she's written a book about running, and I forgot the name of the book here, but her gig is that being an athlete has a lot to do with how you live your life. The book is called Run Like a Girl, 365 Days a Year, a practical, personal, inspirational guide for women athletes, but she's much more, she does much more than talk about women athletics. She talks about using athletic skills for life. And that, as we've said on this program many times, life is an athletic event. And if an athlete's doing something, we want to do it too. So she's going to talk to us tomorrow about the idea of using performance skills, athletic performance skills for life performance. And she's got some really interesting things to say. We'll talk to her tomorrow about her book, Run Like a Girl, and also about her ideas of using athletic skills and athletic tricks to have a very good and fulfilled and content and actualized life. All All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. Donald Trump Jr. yesterday. Why would we talk about Donald Trump Jr. on a health show? Well, Donald Trump Jr. is now talking about health, I guess. So we'll talk about Donald Trump Jr. on our health show. He asks, why didn't you cure cancer decades ago, Joe Biden? Joe Biden famously said a couple of years ago, we're going to cure cancer. I think Donald Trump said the same thing. Donald Trump Sr. said the same thing. He's going to cure cancer. Cancer can't be cured. Cancer is not a disease. Cancer is a cellular adaptation, the end result of a cellular adaptation. A cellular adaptation to stress, a cellular adaptation to suffocation, a cellular adaptation to nutritional deficiency, a cellular adaptation to toxicity. It's a way a cell deals with a crappy situation. It's not a disease. What we have to do is we have to resolve the crappy situation. This is where remissions come from. Remissions happen all the time. Somehow the situation, and by the way, people get cancer and cancer disappears all the time. People don't even know they had cancer. You know that about cancer? You can Google that. You can Google a New York Times article that came out in 2010 about how cancer cells come and go. And scientists know this. You don't hear about it. Your doctor doesn't know about it probably. So you don't cure cancer. We don't want to even look at it that way. Well, if, God forbid, we get this diagnosis, which is obviously the most horrific diagnosis, or one of the most horrific diagnoses somebody could get, your job is to make your body stronger. Make your body more able to handle duress. That is with nutrition, with oxygen, with movement, with all the things we always talk about on this program. So don't wait for a cancer cure. Make your body stronger. Speaking of which, a little sun may help you survive cancer. This is from researchers at Madrid University. They found that a daily vitamin D supplement or sunshine, I prefer sunshine personally, a little sunbathing or taking a vitamin D supplement or eating foods that have vitamin D in them, eggs, red meat, they can all help you survive cancer. Why? Vitamin D is a strength vitamin. Vitamin D is an anabolic vitamin. In fact, vitamin D isn't even a vitamin. It's a substance that's made from cholesterol in response to the sun. It's a substance that is basically cholesterol. And we say it's made from cholesterol, but that doesn't really have the impact of saying it is cholesterol. Vitamin D is a form of cholesterol. This is just when you say it that way, you really understand how important cholesterol is. Vitamin D is a building substance, as cholesterol is a building substance. It's an anabolic substance. It's a coping substance. It helps us cope. And vitamin D deficiency has been according to this article, has been on the agenda of the American Society of Clinical Oncology's annual conference for years. Michigan State University researched more than 80,000 people and discovered that taking a vitamin D supplement for 3 years or longer reduced deaths from all cancers by 13%. Vitamin D helps you deal with life. How cool is that? The sun helps you deal with life. That's called adaptation. The sun being a powerful energy source in the sky, we had to learn to adapt to it. We had to learn to become better when we were exposed to the sun. Our bodies had to learn to become stronger when they were exposed to the sun. So guess what the body did? It evolved a mechanism for creating strength chemicals, strength molecules in response to the sun. And that's what vitamin D is. Vitamin D is a strength molecule, an anabolic molecule, repair molecule, a disease-fighting molecule, and a moon-boosting molecule. Everything good about the body is associated with vitamin D, and it comes from the sun. Tell that to the next knucklehead who tells you should stay out of the sun. And I know you can get supplements, but the vitamin D supplements and even food vitamin D is not as good as the kind we get from the sun. All right, 844-236-6010 is our number. Let's go to the phones and say good morning to Mike in New York. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, Ben. I'm actually driving to work, and I was a little choppy. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I hear you well. What's up? How can we help you?
All right, yes. First, I just wanted to comment on the Truth Treatment products. I purchased them, and they work great. Honestly, the only problem I have is that I still have a little bit of a cystic acne issue, so it makes it stand out a little more.
A couple things about that. First of all, you're using too much. Okay.
Okay.
So and that's the biggest problem with my truth treatments that I really have to educate people on, is that it's so concentrated. I mean, everybody says concentrated, but this is like uber concentrated, ridiculously concentrated, 2 drops kind of thing. That to me, that creates value for you. So use the mist with it if you need to, or some water with it. But I really want to create a super concentrated product. Secondly, the cysts are from the inside. You do know that. I know. I think you've been listening to the program.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
So you got to deal with that. Cysts are always from the inside. Cysts that appear on the skin are always from the inside. You can't do anything about it topically.
Is it digestive, or could it be?
It's lymphatic. It's in the lymph. Now, when it's in the lymph, it's likely digestion, but it could be a toxicity issue from something else you're doing. Smoking could do it. Drugs can do it. But usually it's digestion, yes.
Okay, it's just so hard because it's like, it always seems like when I call, it's always about digestive.
It is always. Because listen, I know I say it periodically, I'm going to say it again. The way the outside world meets the inside world is the digestive system, okay? It's not like I'm a foodie or I'm a freakazoid about the nutrition, about the digestive system. I'm just telling you, critically thinking, we're critical thinking here, right? The way the body is a closed system except for this interface, except for this inside-outside interface at the level of the intestine. Other than that, it's a closed system. That means it's perfect. It's a closed system. It runs like a circle. Things just move. Now, it has to have portals into that closed system, and that's what the digestive system is, as well as the respiratory system and the skin. Those are places where the outside world meets the inside world too, but nothing like food. Okay.
I just to say one of the quick things I just wanted to mention was so right now, because I still have digestive issues, is it possible that there's some mechanical problem with my body, or is it?
Yeah, it could be like a hiatal hernia. Yeah, it could be something mechanical. I mean, it's unlikely, but yeah, it could definitely be something mechanical.
Maybe that be something food can't fix. You know.
You got to fast to truly get an answer to that question. You got to fast.
Okay.
That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to know. All right, Mike. I'm going to let you go, buddy. All right, have a good day. All right, that's got a couple lines open here, 844-236-6010. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we're back on the bright side, 844-236-6010. 844-236-6010 is our number, and let's go to Texas and say good morning to Margaret. Hi, Margaret.
Hi. My urea, nitrogen, and bun creatinine and potassium are all high. And
you got a kidney problem.
What?
You got a kidney problem.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was going to ask you, if that's all kidney.
Yeah. Say again, bun, what else? What else did you say?
BUN, creatinine, and potassium.
Yeah. Your kidney, that's a kidney issue.
Okay.
So here's the dealio. Whenever you have a kidney issue, you have a blood sugar issue. I shouldn't say whenever. That's the first thing to look for, is a blood sugar problem.
My blood sugar wasn't high by the reference range.
Yeah, you know how that goes with reference ranges, right?
Oh, okay. So I still need to lower it then.
Yeah, you want to work on blood sugar. Yeah, you want to work on your blood sugar. Absolutely. Now, if I may ask how old you are, or approximately how old you are?
I'm actually 67 years old.
Yeah, you can't not. It's pretty much inevitable in our culture that you'll start to have what's called dysglycemia. That is messed up blood sugar. Dysglycemia. Okay. So it's pretty inevitable. The standards for diabetes are just based on some arbitrary number. It's maybe not 100% arbitrary, but it's a statistically based number, and people fall on different parts of the curve. So you could easily have messed up blood sugar, and it's very likely.
My glucose level, it showed it was 87.
Well, that's not a problem, but we don't know what your insulin's at. Here's the thing. Insulin controls sugar, okay? So if your insulin is elevated, that's going to make your blood sugar normal. They don't test for insulin. Oh. I mean, they do. You have to ask, and it's expensive, and most doctors don't test for insulin. Oh. So you may have enough insulin to keep your blood sugar normal, but the insulin's the problem.
Oh.
And they don't test for that. That's how so silly all our medicalization is. So anyway, kidney, you go by your symptoms, and kidney problems usually mean there's something thrown off in your sugar. Go do ketogenic diet. Start using the sweeties, magnesium, zinc, anything you do to stabilize your blood sugar. alpha-lipoic acid. There's all kinds of nutrients for that. Most importantly, of course, is keeping your blood sugar or keeping your intake of sugar-spiking foods down. And then your insulin, then your body will be more sensitized to insulin. It won't need as much of it. That's the first thing to do. Now, are you on any medicine?
Well, only I only have hypothyroidism for.
Well, that goes hand in hand. It's all related. So if you're hypothyroid, that means you probably have a digestive thing going on too. So you got to work there. It's triangle disease. Listen, I hate to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but this is how simple everything is. You know, it's just the triangle of disease. It's making your body stronger. If you really, really want to simplify this thing, no matter what your health challenge is, it's the bad stuff has to come out and the good stuff has to come in. That's the simple, the real cutting to the chase, the ultimate simplification: good stuff in, bad stuff out. Good stuff means oxygen. It means nutrition. It means power thoughts and feelings and spirituality. The bad stuff means processed food and sugar and crappy thoughts. I mean, it's really not. It is not. We complicate things. We overthink. And the smarter we are, what I noticed is this disease state that we suffer from the most affects smart people more than anything else, and that's called overthinkitis. We overthink. We have overthinkitis. Do not overthink this. You go nuts overthinking. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Cut to the chase.
What is the ketogenic diet?
The ketogenic diet is a diet that is a low sugar carbohydrate, low carbohydrate, high fat diet.
You said high fat?
High fat. But when I say high fat, I say low carbohydrate, I mean low calorie.
Oh.
So that means that you have to have a high percentage of your calories coming from fat. It doesn't mean eating a lot of fat. This is a very important misunderstanding that people have about keto. I was just reading about that. An article, a headline on a magazine that said, keto diet, can you really eat all the fat you want? And that's the common misperception, that the ketogenic diet allows you to eat a lot of fat. No, it means your percentage of your 1,200 calories a day should come mostly from fat. So say if you're doing 70 to 80 is what they usually recommend, even up to 90. But let's say 70% of your calories coming from fat, and you have a 1,200 calorie diet. What are we talking about here? 840 calories from fat. That's not a lot of fat in terms of just raw calories. So 840 of your calories will come from fat, and then say 10%, just for ease of numbering, of your calories, of your 1,200 calories come from carbs. It's 120 calories from carbs. It's not a lot of carbs. And then the rest from protein. You're not talking about a lot of food. You're talking about, that's the key to the ketogenic diet. It's low calorie. You're not talking about a lot of food. Calories will throw off your blood sugar no matter where they come from, because protein gets turned into fat, and ultimately it'll throw off your blood sugar. Ironically, fat probably has the least effect on it. But sugar will definitely get turned into fat. Obviously, most people know that. All right.
Oh, good. Also, I'll do sweeties and
magnesium.
70% of my calories should come from fat.
70% or so, but keep your calories down. Make sure that's the ketogenic diet. Keep your calories down to about 1,200, and then about 70% of those, roughly, depending on how much some people do up to 90, should come from fat.
Okay. So you said magnesium, ketogenic diet, zinc, and alpha-lipoic.
But I'm not being comprehensive here at all. Vitamin A is going to also be important for you. The glucogenics from longevity, that could also be helpful. All your electrolytes, potassium. I mean, there's 100 different ways that you can use nutrition for lowering your blood sugar. Taurine is important. There's so many different things, but that's a good start for you, Margaret. And the sweeties and the glucogenics will make it easy for you if you just want to do one thing. Get sweeties and glucogenics from longevity. That has everything in there for you.
Oh, you're glucogenics?
Glucogenics.
Okay. Glucogenics.
Right.
Okay. Do you ever tell people to use any chelators like EDTA or?
I love it. Oh yeah, I talk about chelation. Have you? This is your first. Are you a new listener?
Yes.
Today?
Yes.
First time?
Well, it's the third or fourth time I tried to get in.
How did you start? How did you hear about us?
Well, it was because first to start off with Dr. Wallach with Mr. George Norrie.
Gotcha.
And then I went from there. I looked at Dr. Wallach and then. I also heard you on with George Norrie.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Margaret. Have a beautiful day. I'm glad you called.
Okay.
All right, take care.
What does Longevity have anything that's a chelator like EDTA?
They don't have anything that's a straight chelator, but MSM acts as a chelator, vitamin C acts as a chelator, N-acetylcysteine acts as a chelator, selenium acts as a chelator. So they have the plant-derived minerals act as chelators. So, there's various ways that you can use chelation, which is nothing more than a magnetic attraction that minerals have to other substances.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Talk to you later. Thanks so much for calling.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Hey, Carl, you get the last word. What's up, buddy? Carl? Oh, what happened to Carl? Well, we had Carl for a moment there, and Carl's gone, and so is everybody else. So we'll just wind up the show. I hope you guys don't mind me talking about this whole notion of memes versus mechanisms. I know it's not specifically directed at a particular target or part of the body. I have not forgotten to talk about the digestive system. We're still going to continue that, the pancreas and this whole idea. That's how we started this whole conversation. But I think it's very important to recognize that we think mimetically, it doesn't serve us, and there are interests that are not ours, there are interests that are their interests that are manipulating the memescape, if you will. And understanding how to leverage critical thinking is the way we could be inoculated, the way we could be it's our antiviral, it's our vaccination, it's our viral vaccination against the insidious nature of memetics. And keep in mind, as we now enter into the political season, politicians love talking about memetics. And it's one thing when politicians talk about memetics as far as taxes go or policy goes or legal stuff goes. But when they start talking about memetics, when it comes to our personal health and our well-being, well, I got to draw the line there. And we want to be able to expose where the memetics appear. And the only way to do it is through scrutiny, mental examination, and what I call critical thinking. So critical thinking applied to health, critical thinking applied to the medical models, the way we can be protected against the crazy advertising and the crazy promotion and the crazy memetic injections that are out there that are not for us. They're there for them. Use critical thinking at all times. If you're operating memetically when it comes to your health, you're not operating in your own self-interest. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. Be sure to check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for all the longevity products, and truthtreatments.com for our Truth Skin Health products, prescription potency without a prescription. Have yourselves a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.